A Vision of a New World by Claudia Summers, age 10. Read by me, Richard Cadell. It was a busy night in the maternity hospital. By the time the morning light stabbed through the blinds, 700 baby bugs had hatched. They squirmed and made little chub-chub noises, softly opening and closing their clam-like mouths. Their huge, crusty eyes were still shut tight and would remain so until day 5. The old hospital was painted brown. The smell was a curious mix of blood and custard. An old boxy computer perched at the front desk. Busily typing on the computer was an adult bug. Now they had soft, squishy bodies and were a larger version, much like the infants, but had developed rigid, spiky backs. Their arthritic spines made any sudden movements impossible. The nurse in charge was cataloguing the egg cases piled high on a steel trolley. The once perfect spherical egg jewels now resembled a disgusting mess like cold apple crumble. Each baby was placed into a golden crib. These sparkled in the churning dusty air and were the only clean items in the hospital. Nurses patrolled the rows of babies and made notes on clipboards while groaning every time they had to bend or twist. All infants received glibber juice in a bottle. They snatched at it with their flabby, webbed fingers, and you could hear the scratch of their jaggy nails on the plastic as they gulped the brown fluid. After feeding, their elastic tongues would flick out feverishly to explore whatever it landed on. Sometimes the tongues would slap onto the bars of the crib and wrap around, but mainly they would make contact with their nasal area, where they stayed content for many hours, just lapping gently in the continual ooze of green, opaque slime. Day 5 was approaching with great anticipation. This was the day the infants' eyes open and they would be segregated. The infant eye domes would crack open like walnuts to reveal glistening globes of green or opal. The nurses were busy printing labels to fix onto the cribs. Everyone knew green-eyed bugs could see, but the opal-eyed bugs couldn't, and it was assumed that they could never be leaders. But the opal-eyed bugs had other talents. They could hear and summon happiness. If you were lucky enough to have green eyes, then you were considered a leader. If, however, you had opal eyes, you had to fit into the ways of life dictated by the green-eyed bugs. It had been like this for as long as anyone could remember, so long that everyone had forgotten about the opal-eyed bugs. On day 5, there was a terrible shock. The nurses were ready with their labels. Everyone could hear the eyeballs cracking, but when the eyes suddenly snapped open, the whole hospital gasped in confusion. The eyes weren't green or opal. They were a sea of shimmering rainbow. All the baby's eyes were mesmerizing prisms. Then after several minutes of bewilderment, a clever opal-eyed nurse said, "That's enough. No more labels. I have a vision of a greater world where we work together. We all have something valuable to give." Some of the grown-up opal-eyed bugs reached out tentacles to the green-eyed bugs, and they made a chain of little bodies. Every back that had creaked and ached suddenly felt alive as the spines unraveled to reveal wings. One by one, they created a light train that crackled against the cold night air and lit up each other like fireworks. Together, the once flightless creatures became beautiful fireflies. They flew out of the windows and escaped the dingy old hospital, soaring high above a sparkling blue grotto. Buzzing with excitement, they settled their glowing bellies over an autumn meadow scented with honey apple. Together, they discovered peace.